This is the Aroostook Watchmen radio show coming to you live over, in addition to WXME, 96.5 FM in Brewer, 96.5 FM in Bangor, 88.1 FM in Orono, 88.1 FM in Westbrook on the Constitutional Radio Network. Welcome back to the Aroostook Watchmen radio program for Pearl Harbor Day, the 70th anniversary, 2011. This is your host, Steve Martin. Our co-host, Jack McCarthy, is off, although he's been poking in and out. And right now with us, of course, is Bob Chapman of the International Forecaster. Bob, take it away. What else should we be watching?
Well, I think your mentioning of the Pearl Harbor Day, December the 7th, I think is very important. 2 weeks ago, they came out with information of declassification of the fact that we had the codes of the Japanese all broken in 1937. And being in counterintelligence, I knew that. And I learned that in 1954.
Wow.
And it was released under what was then the Freedom of Information Act in September of 1967, but they released it again in a different form. And so the bottom line is this. All the intelligence agencies, the President of the United States, knew the Japanese were on their way. The radar that was on the ships that were lined up in the harbor was all shut off, and that's a fact.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
And we were set up to be bombed so we could get in the war, and all those men and those ships that went down were sacrificed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's absolutely disgraceful.
Sure.
And then after that we had Korea and Vietnam and on and on. It's got to stop. Our young people going over and being slaughtered just so that they can have a war. In this case, Second World War, to get themselves out of the Depression. Because in 1939, unemployment was 17.4%. In 1940, it was 16.2%.
Right.
So they were nowhere near getting out of the Depression.
And that was back when they sort of reported those statistics at least somewhat accurately, right?
That's right.
They didn't count people who are done looking as, they still counted people who were done looking as part of the unemployment.
I've had to live with this my entire life,
yeah.
and a handful of other people,
yeah.
Maybe thousands.
My
but the rest of the world didn't know. And, I was writing this morning, and I said, the victors write the history books, and many of the things that you have heard that we have been told that happened never happened or never happened that way. And I keep on coming across it all the time because, I'm an old person, and I've met many of these famous people, particularly from the other side, who told me the truth about what went on. I mean, I knew back in the 60s who financed World War II, but everybody thought I was insane. Well, now it's public knowledge.
Yeah, we also played a clip before you were able to get on where these types of protest movements that we're seeing today, today it's called Occupy. Back in the late 60s, it was SDS and the anti-war movement. Those types of protest, pressure from below element of the pressure from above cycle, was being financed by the same people who they thought they were railing against. And that seems to be true again with the Occupy movement.
Well, it comes in a different form, but you're right.
Financially, though, I know that you've often recommended, gold shares, physical, taking delivery of gold and silver. Do you think we're getting into an environment where perhaps gold shares, because of the overwhelming manipulation of markets, may be time to take profits and get out and just have gold?
No, not at all.
All right.
Why would anybody give up what happened in the deflation of the 1930s when the stock market fell 90% and the gold and silver shares went up over 500%? Why would anybody
Did that happen in 29 and 30 as well? Because I know it happened in the early 80s, but I didn't hear about there being this massive rally in gold and silver shares back in the Depression?
Between 1930 and 1934. The numbers for the late 1960s, 70s, in 1980, were that the average gold and silver share appreciated 40 times as much as gold bullion did.
Wow.
Now, I'm not saying that these things are going to repeat in the exact same manner, but what I am saying here is that there's an excellent chance that gold and silver shares will outperform by at least a factor of 5 gold and silver bullion and coins. I recommend everybody own gold and silver coins.
So you're talking about in this hyperinflationary environment that you're predicting will hit us by 14, that the wisest place to be for people who can afford to lose their money, I guess, is in gold and silver, junior miners or exploration?
No, a cross-section. And look,
okay. All right.
30% in gold and silver coins split evenly, and 70% in the shares.
Right.
And the share holdings are dependent upon the person. It has to be suitable for them.
Right.
You get an 80-year-old woman, and
less risk, right.
you don't put her in speculative stocks.
Right.
You get a 60-year-old man who's got lots of money, and you load him up. You say, look, take the leverage.
Yeah.
Put 35% of those holdings in speculative ventures, and the remainder in better quality producing companies. Right now, the PE ratio is on producing gold and silver companies is 17 times earnings. In 1980, it was 350 times earnings.
Well, that was obviously...
Okay? And look, you got to remember, I've been in this for 53 years. I own my own brokerage firm. I was the largest gold-silver stockbroker in the world. And all these people who are saying to get out of paper are full of crap. They don't know what they're talking about. They have never been professionals in the market. And they get on these programs and in the Internet and tell you what they think. Well, what they think is totally unprofessional. They are guessing, and you're going to pay for it.
Well, when you say paper, what in this context, what exactly do you mean, paper?
Oh, they mean anything in paper.
All right.
All you should have, as far as they're concerned, is gold and silver, coins and bullion.
Okay.
And they're half right.
Okay.
But they're not, and they shouldn't be knocking gold and silver shares. For what reason? They have no professional standing to do so.
Have some of these major gold miners gotten out of their hedge positions, which actually were hurting them?
Almost all of them.
Almost all of them. Even Barrick?
See, they still got some left, but not much.
All right.
And Barrick lost $7.5 billion doing that. And why did they do it? Because they were controlled by the United States government. You look at their board of directors. It's trilateral this, CFR that, Bilderberger that. Yeah. They were in there doing that to repress the price of gold and silver by selling and hedging forward as much as possible, and they really screwed their shareholders by doing that because they lost $7.5 billion.
Well, it seems to me that they even play sometimes these games with promising young exploration companies. I can give you an example of a company that I bought a few years ago the property I was interested in was the Fenelon gold property in northern Quebec, which had some amazing drill results and was a very large, promising property. Some people were comparing it to Timmins in its potential. And then all of a sudden, it was bought out by another company, and all drilling stopped. The stock price plunged, and it's been basically taken out of exploration. I mean,
I don't understand that. There are look, all of the big companies are going to have to buy the small companies. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. There's a stock that comes to mind right now. If they do over the next 3 months, 2 months, and when they get their total assays back, if they get what they think they have, the stock is selling for 75 cents. It should be worth $8.
Wow.
Now, mind you, I'm an expert, one of the world's experts on gold and silver shares. I know what I'm talking about. I can be wrong, certainly. But you got a heck of a lot of better chance with me than you have if someone says, oh, don't buy those stocks over there because they're paper. What difference does it make? Government can do anything that they want to do.
That's true. They can seize your gold or seize your paper.
And what these people are doing is sensationalizing the issue so they